by
Discover your Daraj.
Presenting Love Uber Eats, a platform to donate essential items to those in need.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome right here on a Thursday night, 9:30 it is, and we're coming to you live, of course, from our studios, Pod-Up Studios, and live to you, wherever you are, on Channel 1 Dialogue TV, and of course, our YouTube channel, Pod-Hub channel on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's a Thursday. We have stumbled and finally arrived.
Arrived on Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Big thank you to our sponsors as well. That's, of course, Daraj and Uber Eats. And today's topic clearly is generating a lot of interest out there on social media. It's being shared heavily.
Multiple times.
Multiple times with lots of grandiose and very exuberant responses from our viewership. And I do hope, therefore, that a lot of people are watching, which I'm very sure they are, because clearly the topic at hand that we're going to discuss is of great interest. Let me just
highest interest. Highest of highest interest.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that you are going to enjoy it. But today, as always, we do have the poll, which is very much geared to what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into our poll right after these messages from our sponsors.
Welcome to the universe of Daraj, where you explore and discover whatever you want, whatever you need. All you can imagine is on your feet. When miles are abridged, happiness is unlocked. Discover your Daraj.
A meal isn't just food. It's hope, nourishment, and love. And right now, we need it all. Presenting Love Uber Eats, a platform to donate essential items to those in need. Send preset ration packs on Uber Eats, and we will match every donation and deliver it with love.
corporate events, weddings, concerts, or simply getting fuel with the QR code. Let us help you take your big day to the world with a professional broadcast to Facebook, YouTube, Zoom, MS Teams, or your website at the most affordable rates. So give us a call and let's go live. Pod-Hub.
Right, we are back, and without wasting any more time, let's get into the poll, which is, I think, of great interest, like I said, to everyone concerned for various reasons.
And which is what we're actually talking about today.
Absolutely. So,
and it's something that's been spoken about even in the parliament.
Yeah, that's right. So, it is absolutely the opportune time to talk about this and, take your opinions on this because it has great ramifications, very positive ramifications for the country at large and for the consumers. Yeah, it means wonderful news.
That's right.
Anyway, so here it is, the poll today. Should cannabis be legalized not just for export, but for recreational use too? Yes or no answers only. Please WhatsApp your answers to our hotline. That's 077 669 1590. And at the end of the show, we will tell you exactly how the responses stand. And we will get our guests' views on this particular topic at the end. Of course, our entire conversation today will be leading up to that point. So
that's right. And don't forget, we don't know any one of you. So we will not judge any one of you out there. So be as truthful and honest as you can possibly be with the poll that we have for us.
As candid as we are.
Yeah. So crossing over live to Thailand right now, we have Dr. Wasantha on the show with us. Good evening, Doctor. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I am from Thailand and I'm actually from the Ubon Kingdom. It's a very nice place. It's a kingdom, it's a kingdom that I'm like a king in this kingdom now.
Yeah, well, I can see you've brought a friend alongside you also, which is fine.
Yeah, this is my favorite crop now.
Yeah,
right.
It's a wonderful plant. It's a miracle plant, and I have done a lot of research, a lot of reading about this miracle plant, $1 billion plant, and I have written 2 books about this plant, and I
Oh, wow.
educated Sri Lankan crowd.
Right.
Both books were specially wrote in Sinhalese
Right.
for Sri Lankans to understand, and I had a vision. That's why I wrote these 2 books in Sinhalese. And now the knowledge about cannabis is gone to everywhere, even to the parliament. And
Yep.
I'm very
Absolutely.
happy now in the parliament. Now the people are talking about cannabis. And actually, I was waiting for that moment because I have done very much of hard work. Actually, I spent 2 years in Panamalvilla with traditional farmers in Chenas and in my COVID hut and with elephants and, all the problems and all the challenges that the China farmers has to face. I also
Yeah.
faced that, and it was a wonderful time. I learned very much about Sri Lankan cannabis varieties from them, and all together, uh, I did not keep any information with me.
Right.
Whenever I got the information, I updated through social media.
Yeah.
I wrote to the relevant people, and finally it reached to the top policymakers. So this was my end of my first phase.
Doctor, before we basically get into the crux of things, something that I want to know, and I'm sure lots of viewers, of course, would also like to know, what is the difference between marijuana, cannabis, and weed? Is there a difference?
Yeah, marijuana and weed are same.
Okay.
Marijuana, weed are same. Ganja is same. Uh, Hash is same. Malana is same. Afghan Kush is same. They are all belongs to one category
Okay.
Right. Right.
because they have high level of tetrahydrocannabinol in the flowering buds of resin,
Right.
Right.
right? So THC is the most important chemical for enhance the psychology actually,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So it can enhance the, so that's what we call the bliss actually.
Right.
Bliss or anand or high, right? So this is all inclusively, it tells you that your psychic level is enhanced actually, right? So that
Right.
is THC, right? So when there is a lot of THC in a plant, it can make you feel high, or
Right.
it can make you feel anand, right? Or bliss, right? So that is why some people may not like that.
Yeah.
Some people cannot bear that, right? It's like this, some people don't like to hear classical music,
Oh, correct.
right? Right? It's like that. Some people don't like this high feeling, right?
Yeah.
And that high feeling is good for wise people actually, right? It is
Okay.
written in all the books in the past. Any drug is good for a wise man because wise man knows where he is going after using whatever the substance is, right? So
Correct.
the cannabis varieties which with high THC is considered recreational or
Right.
spiritual,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that is that, for that people say marijuana or weed, right? So
Right.
other type is another variety. It they do not have high level of THC, right?
Right. Okay.
And but they have other compounds like cannabidiol, cannabinol, cannabigerol, right? There are like 80 different compounds all together in cannabis resin, which are not found in any plant in the world, right? Among
Right.
Right.
those 80, about 10 belongs to tetrahydrocannabinol group, right?
Okay.
So if we have high level of THC, it will make us recreational, right? And if there's no THC, it is very good for medicine. because CBD, CBG, CBN, cannabichromine, they are all good for our health, right?
Right.
So therefore, so there are two different types. Marijuana have a lot of THC. Other variety has no THC. In the variety where there is no THC, there are two types actually, right? Uh, from uh, that plants with a lot of CBD, we can extract CBD and we can use it for medicine, as well as we can use their fibers and stems for other industries.
Doctor, when you say,
Also,
yeah, when you say medicine, what kind of medicine?
okay, now you know that we have alimentary canal for digestion of food.
Right.
We have a respiratory system, right? And we have a reproductive system, right? So like that, our body is composed of endocannabinoid system.
Right.
I'm sure only very few people in Sri Lanka know about endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, absolutely. It's news to
It
us because
was,
we never heard of it.
yes,
Yeah.
and it was discovered in 1992. Before that, nobody knew that there was a system like that,
Right.
right? And when scientists did the research about what is endocannabinoid system, they found that uh, the chemicals coming from these plants, THC, CBD, CBN, they bind to our endocannabinoid system and enhance our physiological work,
Wow.
right? So, and this is a very big story, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
right, and it's a very nice story. Anyhow, they say that cannabis plant can chemicals of the cannabis plant can join with our endocannabinoid system and enhance our bodily functions and keep our body in homeostasis.
Right. Okay.
Right? So whatever the way we take cannabis plant, consume, eating or smoking, if there is those chemicals good for health, they will improve our health.
Right.
Yeah. But you're actually
Right?
you're consuming it. No, let's say you eat it. It obviously, I mean, you absorbs into your body through your stomach. But if you smoke it, I
Yes.
mean, it enters your lungs. So how does that work?
Okay. So when you smoke, so okay, we talk about THC and CBD separately,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you smoke marijuana, THC enters your body through mouth, goes to your lungs, enters to the bloodstream, and from there it travels to the bloodstream and enters to the nervous system. Right?
Right.
In our nervous system, there are special chemicals called CB1 molecules.
Okay.
CB1 molecules are like receptors in our uh, neuron system,
Okay.
right? They are located in our CB1 receptors are found in our brain and spinal cord. Yes, brain and the spinal cord. So when we consume THC in a edible way or as a smoke, right? So somehow that THC will join to the central nervous system into the CB1 receptors, right?
Right.
So they say that it's like a lock and key mechanism, right? So those who have learned biology know what is lock and key
Right.
mechanism is, right? The chemicals, there's a lock in our body, so chemicals can be locked into a system within our chemical system. That uh, locking will enhance uh, many biological reactions and will uh, keep the homeostasis perfectly, right? So
Right.
that is what cannabis plant will do to us, right? So you can take it as whatever the way you like, right? So people have been using this plant for 12,000 years without making any medicine, just consuming it, right?
Right.
So we know we take a lot of herbs in the in when we are eating, right? When we are eating our curries and rice and our food, we are eating a lot of herbs. Some herbs have medicinal values, right? So
Yeah.
nobody asks for which uh, for which ailment you are eating this plant, right?
Right,
Yeah.
It's not like
right,
that, right? So it is holistically improving our system, right? People knew that. People did experiment for more than 12,000 years, right? And when it came to after 1850s, after the Industrial Revolution, right? So some people undertook these resources, right, for their monopoly, right? And they started making medicine out of that, right?
Right.
Right? And they say, now, uh, okay, it's like, okay, so, we are eating rice. We want carbohydrate for our body, right?
Yeah.
Carbohydrate is found in rice. We can eat rice directly, or we can powder the rice and make flour. And
right,
from that flour, we can eat something else, something else, something else, right? It's like that, right? So
Right.
anyway, we are consumed when you are eating rice, it is carbohydrate, right? So when you are consuming cannabis plant, you are consuming very important chemicals in there,
Yeah.
right? So this is what we have to understand. About all these important chemicals, research has have been done now, right?
Yeah.
There's no research to be done anymore, right? And if Sri Lankans think that we have to do research, I'm very sorry about them, right? There is no opportunity for doing any more research.
Doctor. I
To
just
tell
I
you
just want to
frankly,
just want to find out now. I mean, you've given us the scientific reason behind
Yeah.
the attributes of the plant, but why is cannabis banned in Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
Now, of course, we're talking about this right now because, like you said, like we obviously said at the beginning of the show, it's been discussed in the highest legislature in the country.
Yeah. Finally.
Finally,
Yeah.
the parliament is
Yeah.
talking about it, of course, talking about growing it to export.
Absolutely.
So,
But yeah, how did it become how did it get a bad name? And when did that happen?
okay, so before that, we should know when cannabis came to us.
Okay.
Cannabis is not our plant.
Right.
And if somebody thinks that we have a cannabis is our plant, it is coming from us, it is evolved in Tanamalut, that is all wrong, right?
right,
Actually, cannabis plant evolved 28 million years ago in Altai Mountain in Central Asia.
Right.
28 million years ago, right? That time, humans have not evolved.
right,
Okay. And, okay. So, you know that human beings, they evolved in Africa and they went out of Africa. They traveled around the world, right, along the river valleys, and they came to China. They came to China and came to Altai Mountain, and there they found this cannabis plant, right? And then they did a lot of experiments with the plant. You know, when people find a plant for the first time, right,
Yeah.
they will eat it, they will smell it, they will crush it, they will do everything possible to see what
Right.
is it, right? And people did the same thing for this plant, and they found that it has a lot of nice benefits, right? So
Yes.
they can eat the when they burn that plant in the campfire at the night, right? Everybody got high, right?
Yeah.
And it was a very nice feeling for them, right? So they domesticated that plant, and from China, from Altai Mountain, through the Silk Road, it came to Mediterranean as well as India.
Right, right.
And it was there in Mediterranean and Persia and Egypt and everywhere, all the civilizations in the world, right?
Right.
And it came to India, and India, yeah, in India in the Himalayas, right? And people did a lot of research about this plant, and they understood that uh, this is very good for medication, and this is good for spiritual thing and meditation, so on, right? So they compile, they made different medications for different ailments, right? And it has been, everything is been reported in historical Indian medicinal book, right?
Right.
And so it came to Sri Lanka with Pulasti, right? Pulasti came to Sri Lanka around 7,000 years ago, and Ravana was his son in Munubura, actually, right?
Yeah.
And and Pulasti brought cannabis plant to Sri Lanka and introduced it to Sri Lankan people how to use it.
Right.
Right. Wow.
Right. Since then, Sri Lankan people started growing it for medication, a special variety. Right.
Right. Right.
That is how Pulasti introduced it. Right.
Right.
For a spiritual purpose, another variety. Right. For getting fibers, another variety. Right?
Okay. Okay.
So we introduced 3 crops actually, not cannabis.
Right.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
So that practice came along for a long time, right? And for spiritual purpose, people did not smoke it like we are smoking a joint. Right?
Yeah.
How they used it was they made a juice out of it, right? So they ground the cannabis buds and the leaves and make a semi-solid ball, right?
Right.
And they make like a semi-solid, hundreds of semi-solid balls in the morning and keep them in their bang shops. And they call it bang shops, right?
Yeah.
And that ball will be dissolved in milk. And add some
wow. Right.
sugary things and pepper and some other herbs to make it tasty, and people drank that, right? So that is called bang,
Right.
right? Bang is made out of cannabis buds and cannabis leaves, right? And for selling bang, there were shops in Sri Lanka,
Oh wow.
Wow. Okay.
Because I know
right?
bang is very popular in India right now. So
Yes,
I mean,
yes, bang is very popular in India, right? So bang actually came to Sri Lanka with the introduction of Pulasti.
right.
Right? So people had bang shops throughout the country, right? In the bang shops, they also sold hashish.
Okay.
Right.
This is written in the books, right? So I read Portuguese and Holland acts regarding cannabis prohibition, right?
Okay.
So when I read that, I found that they were telling that there were so many bang shops, so they want to regulate it. So they start registering them. So people had to pay tax for each bang shop, right?
Right.
Those who don't get the permission will be arrested and prison for six years, so on, right? And during that time, when Dutch people in Sri Lanka during 1685, right? There were so many bang shops, and from India, people bought. They brought another kind of cannabis, right? In India, there are other varieties, right? So
Okay.
with India and Sri Lanka, there were frequent trade, right? So when it was not prohibited there, right? So it was a commodity, it was a crop, right? So from India, they brought us a lot of varieties for recreation and for medicine, right? And so we have Indian cannabis in Sri Lanka selling in the bang shops, always as well as local bang and local hash, right?
Yeah.
So in the Dutch people, for the first time, they prohibit importing cannabis from India in 85. Right?
Okay.
So it was the first legal attempt regarding cannabis in Sri Lanka. Right? And in early 1700, they started taking tax from bank shops, right?
Okay.
And then later stage, I can't remember the dates. Sorry, I have done a very good documentary regarding how it happened, right? So
Okay.
I can't remember the dates. But then for the third time, they did not allow selling bang in the shops, right?
Yeah.
For the
This
for
was
fourth time, they
so it
they,
was
they
a
prohibited.
blanket ban. They banned
Yeah,
it
it was a
or
blanket ban
okay.
for the bank selling
Right.
bang, right? And the fourth time, they prohibited the plant. That was in
Right.
1829, right? That and they introduced Poison, Opium, and Dangerous Drug Act.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
right, right,
So that's where it
So
happened.
it is still with us,
right, right.
right?
Doctor,
So
now
we
what
had
is
banks of
sorry, Doctor, what was holding back Sri Lanka all this time to grow cannabis to export
Absolutely.
when over 30 countries in the world are already basically doing it? So, there you go.
Yeah, so this is Heshan who's asking this question, Doctor.
okay.
Especially since that the UN has now kind of taken cannabis out of that dangerous drugs list. So I
Yeah.
mean, what are we thinking?
Yes, it was happened in 2020 December
Yeah,
2nd, I think, right? So World Health Organization proposed United Nations to remove cannabis from the dangerous drug list, right?
correct, correct.
Yeah, WHO proposed 8 things about cannabis, right? To remove from Schedule 4, remove from Schedule 1, and there are some other certain things as well, right? But in United Nations, that narcotic committee, they agreed only to remove cannabis from dangerous drug category, that is Schedule 4.
Right,
Cannabis is still in danger, still is in Schedule 1. Schedule 1 says addictive substances,
Right, right,
right,
right?
right,
Now, cannabis is addictive but not dangerous
right,
and has medicinal values.
right.
right.
Okay, okay.
Right? So, now this is very important. It is addictive, very good. For what? For medicinally important plant.
Got it.
Right. Okay.
So,
So
where we
what?
go from here?
So, so
If
why
somebody
was
says
free? Yeah,
addiction is bad,
yeah. But
if somebody is
Doctor.
telling addiction
Oh,
is bad,
I think Lanka,
okay,
I mean, I switch to single if you don't mind. අපි ලංකාවේ දැන්
no,
ඉඳගෙන
no problem.
දැන් අපි මේක දැනගෙන ඒ කියන්නේ WHO එකත් මෙහෙම කියනවා නම් ඇයි අපි තාම මෙච්චර පැකිලෙන්නේ මේ මොකද්ද මෙච්චර බය මේ ගංජා පැලේට තියෙන බය මොකද්ද මෙච්චර?
ඒක තමයි වඩාත්ම වැදගත්ම පොයින්ට් එක මෙතන තියෙන.
හරි.
හරි. ලංකාවේ 1969න් 61 විතර එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සංවිධානය ලෝකෙටම කිව්වා ඔය ස්කෙඩියුල් 4 හඳුනලා දීලා කැනබිස් යනු ඇඩික්ටිව්, කැනබිස් යනු ඩේන්ජරස් කියන කැටගරිස් වලට දැම්මා. දාලා යාර ලොකු කැම්පේන් එකක් කරා. ඒ අතරතුර ඇමරිකාවේ මිනිස්සු කැම්පේන්ස් කරලා ෆිල්ම්ස් හැදුවා කාන්සා හොඳ නැහැ කියලා. හරි.
ඔව්.
ඒ ඔක්කොම කරේ කාන්සා හොඳ නැති නිසා නෙමෙයි කාන්සාවලට තිබ්බ මාකට් එක වෙන පැත්තකට යොමු කරලා එයාලගේ ද්‍රව්‍ය විකිණීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය කරන පාර හදා ගන්න.
හරියට හරි.
හරි. එතකොට දැන් ලංකාවේ කාන්සා ටැබු එකක්. හරි. කාන්සා ගැන කාන්සා කියන වචනේ කතා කරන්න බෑ කාටවත්.
Right.
හරි. ඒක ලැජ්ජයි. ඒ තත්ත්වයට අපි පත් කරලා තියෙනවා කාන්සා ගංජා කියන දේවල් මිනිස්සු ඉන්න තැන කතා කරන්නවත් එපා කියන තැනට. හරි. So it happened for like 70 years to our people.
Yeah.
Right.
And because of that, nobody read about cannabis. Right?
Correct.
Nobody wrote anything about cannabis. Right? No scientist did any research about cannabis. Right?
Yeah.
None of those scientists uh, read any article from international publications about cannabis.
Correct.
Doctor, is it
Right?
also because cannabis is considered like the first step for youth to get into other harmful drugs? Is that one of the reasons that it was actually also looked down upon?
Yeah, even now, doctor, because a lot of people, especially the authorities, the police department, consider weed, marijuana, ganja, whatever you want to call it, the entry level drug to substance abuse, more hardcore drug abuse in the future. Is
Yes,
there any
when
basis to that?
yeah, yes, that's a basis, but it was a lie. During 1930s, American government. Okay, so I'm going to America now, right? So
Okay.
now this is middle 1950s, right?
Right.
And before that, cannabis plant was the source for fabric, right? Cannabis, there was no other plant grown like cannabis to get fiber for clothes and
Right.
rope making,
Right.
right? It was the cannabis, right? And the paper industry was entirely dependent upon cannabis stems,
Right.
right? And medicine was cannabis,
Okay.
right? Cannabis seeds gave enough oil for a lot of industries, right? Okay, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
cannabis is before 1930s. It was the paper making substance. It was the rope making substance, fabric making, and medicine. Right, and after 1930s, scientists started synthetic revolution.
Right. Okay.
They started inventing synthetic fibers like nylon, polyester, things like that, cellophane, plastic, right? And they could do everything from those synthetic material which was earlier done by the cannabis plant,
Okay.
right? And the second thing, the same time, uh, some people in America who had journalism industry, right, printing press industry, right, they had their own forest, virgin forest in somewhere in Canada or somewhere, right. They started logging for taking timber for building constructions, and they got enough sawdust. And their scientists did research about the sawdust, and they said we can make paper out of sawdust also,
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
right? Right? The same by the time paper was made of cannabis, right? And those press, the paper making people, right? So they started making papers out of uh, timber, right? And they started cutting trees because they had virgin forest, right? So they started cutting and they started making paper out of that, and they had a competitor now, that cannabis paper, right?
Right.
And the same time, synthetic chemicals started making synthetic pharmaceuticals, right? They started making everything synthetic, right? So they copied the natural substances of the herbal plants and synthesized in the laboratories, and they started selling it, right? So now that was the synthetic revolution, and when synthetic revolution happened, they didn't want any more the natural fibers and this plant, right? So they made a scandal to prohibit this, and they say they by the time in America, cannabis was used as marijuana, People were
Okay.
smoking it, especially
Yeah.
these Colombians and yes, Colombians, right?
Right.
And uh, and they wanted to ban marijuana, right?
Right.
Right? So they say that marijuana is bad. It's coming from that plant, so we have to ban it, right? So they banned the marijuana plant and the cannabis plant and the hemp plant and everything is banned now, right?
So multiple big industries have had a hand in actually
Yes,
banning this very important plant. But okay,
yes, yes,
my question is this: now after there was more research done, and obviously now it has been proven that that it should be actually be removed from all the schedules that the WHO recommends. But what is
yes.
holding nations or the UN or especially Sri Lanka back now? Why are we still afraid to kind of embrace this plant, which is far older than any of these other things that we've spoken about?
Yes. WHO want this plant to be free. That's why they suggested to United Nations. UN also wanted this plant to be free. That is why they gave it to the United Nations Narcotic Committee. But that in Narcotic Committee, there are country representatives,
Right.
Okay.
right? Right. So when people go from Sri Lanka, right, do you think that they will say yes to that? No, because they don't know about this plant. They
Yeah.
think that
Okay.
everybody in this country think that this is a bad plant, and
Right.
there's no material to read about this plant,
Yeah.
right? If there is anything that is in English, right? So this is the problem, right? So now there is no academic in Sri Lanka, academic person in Sri Lanka who has done any reading about updated cannabis science. Even the doctors, especially the doctors, uh, should do research about this cannabis plant, right? So I have done so much of reading about medicinal importance of cannabis plant, right? So
Yeah.
there's nobody to read this because there
Yeah.
are in the universities there is no section for this, right? In this
Absolutely.
country, there's no institute for this, right? When
Yeah.
there's no institute, there are no seminars, there are no conferences. Nobody's writing abstracts, nobody's writing papers, nobody's doing any research about this, right?
Doctor, okay.
So
We
this
have a
is the
question. Yeah, we have a question coming in from Deduni. Why do tobacco and
okay.
nicotine in cigarettes not fall within the poisonous opium and dangerous drugs ordinance? And did the entering of tobacco giants into the market have something to do with cannabis being banned?
Not actually.
Okay.
Tobacco has nothing to do with banning cannabis.
Okay. Okay. But of course, what's legal, I mean, what she's asking is what's legal, like, tobacco and nicotine, and which has so many other substances in it, is accepted, by the poisonous opium and
Uh,
dangerous drugs ordinance. But cannabis, without any, is there any proof that, when it was banned, was there any proof that, that there was some danger in this?
no, no, all the time they told lies. They said that it is a gateway drug, so many things, right? Hallucinating, and then schizophrenia, right?
Wow.
And gateway drug, right? They
Yeah.
they said a lot of stories. And ganja getter, right?
Yeah.
Moona nyoroswena, right? And that is all lies, right? So this is all done by the Western medical
So the
doctors,
big pharma.
Actually, doctor,
big pharma companies.
on
Yes.
that note, on the question that Deduni actually asked, now according to the
Yeah.
Washington Post, in the certain states where marijuana is legal, there is less
Yes.
consumption of painkillers, and the alcohol consumption has lowered by 15%.
Yeah.
So does this mean
There must be less crime too.
exactly? Does this mean it is
Yes.
bad for business for the tobacco, alcohol, and the pharmaceutical companies?
No, it is not going to be bad for anybody because In other countries, tobacco companies have shifted from
Yeah,
tobacco to cannabis now.
correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So it is the best way, because no, we don't need anybody to start that cannabis joint industry.
Yeah,
The industry
Right.
is already there. We have to
Right.
change the raw material,
yeah,
right? So
Right.
correct.
it's happening now, right? So the second thing, big pharma companies, right? Now, the most of the research about cannabis plant is done under big pharma funding,
Right.
right? In the best universities in the world, right? Even in Israel, America, England, France, wherever you go, the best universities are funded by the big pharma companies for making medicine out of cannabis plant, right? So the
Right.
big pharma is coming soon with medical marijuana tablets, right? And
Okay.
other sort of pharmaceutical methods, right? So they are not going to lose it, right? So they are changing their raw material, right? And doing the same thing, right? But it's very good, because they are doing a lot of very good research and they are giving the best thing in the world to the people, right?
Absolutely.
The problem for us is if we don't do research about this, right, for making our own kind of medicine, we will have to buy those medicine from pharmaceutical companies,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
right? And for the next thousands of years, we will be slaves of pharmaceutical companies, right?
Doctor, now, how many varieties of cannabis are there in Sri Lanka?
According to the farmers, there are like 20 different strains,
Right.
and nobody has seen that. Only the farmers know that. Nobody has
Okay.
counted scientifically. No proper research has done. No documentation. Nothing. Right?
Yeah.
It is the traditional
Yeah.
knowledge.
How many have you encountered in your, in your travels and living with the farmers, in that 2 years?
Okay. I have encountered like 5, 6 different strains. Right? Uh, uh, Especially those strains with larger buds.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Right? So those came to me. Right?
Okay.
Because in Sri Lanka, the cannabis market is for recreational only,
Yeah.
Right.
right? So people always look for bigger buds,
Okay.
right?
Correct. But
So I have seen very big.
yeah.
Okay,
What
good.
about the Ayurveda, practitioners, doctor? How do they
In
come to
Sri
their,
Lanka,
yeah.
so what is happening in Sri Lanka for the Ayurvedic medical productions? They
Yeah.
use cannabis, right? And like 200 kilograms per year, right? It's not much, right? It's a very, 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 very little thing, right? And that cannabis is coming from not a properly grown farmers,
Right.
right? It is not grown properly, right? That cannabis is grown by Javaram Karyo, right?
Oh, right.
In
Okay.
the secret, right? In the secret places, right? And the police arrest them and they remove the plants and they put into tractors, lorries, and they bring to the Ayurveda, right? And then they will distribute for medication, right?
Right.
Right. Right. Right.
So in the world, there is no other country making medication out of these confiscated things.
Right. Right. Right.
So this Ayurveda is a joke in Sri Lanka, right? If they want to practice Ayurveda properly, they should cultivate their own cannabis varieties, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those arrested by the police, it is a pool of several varieties. Even I know that in some chainas there are KG plants coming from India, right?
Okay.
They
Okay.
have very high concentration of tetrahydrocannabinol, right?
Right.
If the plants are going for medication, so people will get high level of tetrahydrocannabinol. And the second thing about Sri Lankan Ayurveda is, I said that plants are not properly grown
Yeah.
and they are not properly harvested,
Okay.
right? Properly harvested means we have to wait until the seeds are matured,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But in what you know what is happening in Sri Lanka, right? Even flowers, before flowers come, police go and cut the trees, plants,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
Right.
So there is nothing in that plant actually, right? There are
Right.
leaves like cannabis in that medication, right? So Sri Lankan Ayurveda is making medication out of a plant which has leaves like cannabis, right?
Right,
Not
So
right,
you
the
right.
you have no
important
idea what you're
chemicals in it.
consuming.
So you have no idea what you're consuming pretty much. Doctor, now let's talk
So
about the hemp industry, right? Which of course
very good.
is
Yes.
is consisting of making body care products, food
Yeah.
supplements, etc. Which supposedly, according to what I read up, $44 billion market.
Yeah.
Right? That was back in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay? That was back in the US. Now, according to the Forbes magazine, the hemp industry in the US will create more jobs than the manufacturing industry. Are we in Sri Lanka in a position also to actually have a successful hemp industry if cannabis was legalized?
Of course. But in that case, we should not think about this exporting things.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And now everybody think that we should export our cannabis. And these Sri Lankans think that it's a we have a demand for our cannabis. There's no demand for Sri Lankan cannabis. Nobody has done any research about that cannabis. Nobody
Yeah.
knows which variety is this. Nobody knows how many chemical compounds are there, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
they look like cannabis plants only,
Oh,
right? So nobody is going to buy this, right? That is number one. And Sri Lankan cannabis is not the best in the world.
right,
Tanamalula
right.
cannabis is not the best in the world, right? Actually, to when we compare cannabis strains in the world, right? It's like when we compare the people in the world where we are.
Right, right.
Right.
Right, right, right. So we are not the best in the world.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
It's the same thing, you know. We are
Yeah.
fools, so we always tell bad things very good.
Right, 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 right.
Okay.
So, doctor, what do you
And
think
we can,
about this whole idea of the parliament and of being now there's a parliamentary committee
Yeah.
that has actually been put together to discuss the exporting of
Absolutely.
cannabis.
Growing cannabis for export.
And now
Yeah.
you're saying that nobody's done research of Sri Lankan cannabis, and you're also saying that nobody wants Sri Lankan cannabis. So, what's the point of this committee then?
because the committee doesn't know where they are going. And they don't know where they are coming. Even they don't know where they are coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are just like airdrops, you know.
So is there a point for this, doctor? I mean, are we in a position to actually grow and export cannabis from Sri Lanka?
Yes. But before that, we have to find our unique strains.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Sri Lankan unique strains will have a market, like Sri Lankan tea,
Right.
All right.
right? We can market a heritage Sri Lankan cannabis strains,
Yes.
Right.
right? I will tell you a very good example from Thailand, right? Thailand, they have done research for like 10, 12 years about cannabis before they legalized it completely, right?
Right.
They discovered 4 different varieties in Thailand, good for people to use
Wow.
for medicinal purposes as well as for recreational purposes, right? They declared that 4 strains as national heritage,
Oh wow.
Wow. Wow.
right? So Thailand has now 4 cannabis strains local for them as national heritage, right? So now they are promoting a national heritage, right?
Right.
As well as they propose United Nations intangible heritage section to consider these 4 varieties as a world intangible heritage, right? So
Yeah,
this
but
is
that's
how they are going to market their own varieties.
Right.
That is
Right.
unique Thailand varieties, right? So that is what we have to do, right? That is what I tried to do when I was in Tanamallila, to
Right.
find the strain of Sri Lanka, right? We can do a lot of business with foreign people, right? As Diana says, as Isra Jayapuri says, right? And we can invite foreigners to come here and grow cannabis. But
yeah.
when they
Right.
come, they will bring their seeds
Right.
because we don't have seeds, right? So they know
Yeah.
which seeds to be grown, and they know the chemical composition of all their seeds, right? So they will select the best seed, right? And they will do it. They will extract chemicals out of that, especially the CBD, right? And that is the most important thing in the cannabis plant. And they will take it to their country, and they will give us some leaves, stems, and fibers and roots,
Right.
right? So this is what happened if we are going to start any projects with foreign people. They don't cultivate our cannabis here, right? Because we have not done any homework yet.
Doctor,
And if
isn't this
Sister
the
Jayapuri,
time for you to reach out to the individuals who are proposing and promoting exporting, growing and exporting cannabis from Sri Lanka?
Absolutely.
Isn't this the time that you need to reach out to them and basically maybe put them on the right track and say this is how you should do it?
yeah, you asked me why don't you reach out? Actually, I reached out to Thailand from Sri Lanka.
So Sri Lanka's loss is Thailand's gain. Is that what you're trying to say?
You know what? I have been telling this to everybody now in the country,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I told to Mahinda Rajapaksa, Gotabaya, and Vijitha Herath, and all the JVP leaders, and then Diana Gamage, Sisira Jalkodi. I spent hours with them, explaining what you can do, what you should do,
Right.
right? They have no sense about this. Now they are in a deep well. Now they need dollars, right?
Yeah.
So now they are thinking that we can find dollars out of this. No, it's wrong, right? So this island, we are growing cannabis, so nothing is going out of this country, right?
Right.
If something is going out, it's smuggling, right?
Right.
Right.
And there's an international law. None of the cannabis plant, its extracts or derived products cannot be exported or imported, right?
So,
So even if we
so
do it,
yeah.
even
So we've shot ourselves in the foot even by thinking it, because clearly we'll be in contravention of international law if we try to do it.
yes, we can't do that. You know why
Oh my Lord. Talk about Adagina names.
they don't understand this, they don't know the
Yeah.
international law regarding this.
Yeah.
So cannabis is coming to save countries out of their problems,
Yeah.
not to help other countries. Right?
Correct.
Canada is growing cannabis for their people, not for us. They are
Yeah.
producing a lot of medication. They have coffee shops and marijuana shops and CBD products and hemp products and so many things. CBD seed oil, right? That is all for them, not for us.
So,
Yeah.
Right?
doctor, what you're
America is
saying
doing the
is
same thing.
you can't grow and export that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
We can grow, but can't export. Nobody is going to buy our products because they are very standard than us now. And we are still in the beginning,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Okay.
So
right?
Liam Fernando asked this question. Doctor, are you
Okay.
able to influence or are you being consulted by those in Parliament during these current discussions?
I think, Liam, I think Doctor just answered that just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
That
So
they,
clearly not.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm still trying to, talk to them, but
Yeah.
senseless,
Yeah. But doctor, just tell me, just before, I mean, we are almost at the end of the show, but
Yeah.
how did you get into this particular field of study? I mean, as a, a PhD in natural sciences, what interested you most?
Yeah, I think that was because I'm a natural scientist,
Yeah.
right? So I did a lot of research in different fields like cave biology, cave ecology, fisheries and rivers and stream ecology and weathers, right?
Yeah.
Birds and ethnic studies. I have done various kind of things in my life, right? So this is another venture into me, another
All
field for
right.
me, right? It's just a new field for me because I have always explored, done exploration into the fields that nobody has ever done,
right.
right?
Excellent.
So I'm here, right? So actually, I'm believing now. I want to tell the Sri Lankan government, right, this special information. There's a committee. It's good to have a committee, but the committee should be informed by the scientific facts about cannabis, right?
Yes.
Right.
And there is nobody in Sri Lanka who can do it. And there are a lot of people in other countries who can do it in English language,
Yeah.
right? If you bring an expert from another country, he will come and talk in English, and those technical terms will not understood by anybody in those committee,
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
And this should be done by a native language, right? And to explain these facts from a native language, there is only one person in Sri Lanka. That person is now in Thailand. I'm talking to you, right? They should. No, this is true, right? Because I
Right.
have led this. I have led so far, right?
Right.
I'm the person who has written 2 books, and without these 2 books, none of those politicians will work, right?
Correct.
ආයුර්වේද දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව එයාලට ප්‍රපෝසල් ඕන වෙනකොට ලියන්න ඕනකට මගේ පොත ඉල්ල ගන්නවා. They have these books. එයාලා මට කියනවා, "Doctor, අපි ඔයාගේ පොතෙන් තමයි මේ හැම දෙයක්ම ගන්න" කියලා. I'm very happy about it,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because I have done a very good thing for this country,
Right.
right?
Right.
And අපි මොනවා හරි if you want to do something new, first you have to write a book.
Yeah.
Then there's something to refer, right? And anybody can go through this and see whether this information is right or wrong, right? So this is the guideline. So I have given the guideline, and I have also produced the policy for the Sri Lanka, how we
Oh,
can
wow.
do this,
Right.
right? And I have the best connection in the world: academics, business people, right? Investors, right? Researchers. They are all with me. There is nobody in Sri Lanka who has that number of connections, right?
Yeah.
So when there's a person like me, what are they doing in the parliament? What can they do? Right? What the hell that committee can do without a
Right.
leader?
Correct.
Right?
Doctor, දැන්
I'm not challenging them.
මේ පොත අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ?
Yes, it was in the market for many years, and it
Oh,
is
right,
already given online free. We have given both books PDF free now, right?
Wow.
Circulating in thousands. I
Wonderful.
don't charge anything for that.
Doctor, we're almost at the end of the show. When we come back, we have the poll that we started off with on the show. So we're going to quickly take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome to
Okay.
the universe of the Raz, where you explore and discover whatever you want, whatever you need. All you can imagine is on your feet. When miles are abridged, happiness is unlocked. Discover your Daraz.
A meal isn't just food. It's hope, nourishment, and love. And right now, we need it all. Presenting Love Uber Eats, a platform to donate essential items to those in need. Send preset ration packs on Uber Eats, and we will match every donation and deliver it with love.
And we are back. Okay, so we clearly weren't back the last time I said we were back.
We just want to ensure that we drive it home that we are Podhub.
Absolutely. No, we are not true. Anyway, it has been an absolute pleasure, having the expert on cannabis with us, because it has been an absolute edification for the both of us, and I don't mind telling you, doctor, that our viewership is in the grown about fourfold today, because you were talking about something very, very important and very close to home to a lot of people. But at the beginning of the show, we had this poll, where we actually asked you that should cannabis be legalized not just for export but for recreational use too? Yes or no answers only, and you were supposed to WhatsApp your answers to our hotline number, that's 077-669-1590, and we'll see how the responses stand. Doctor, clearly you have answered this question, because there is no option for export, really, unless you actually make products out of it, like medicinal products, pharmaceutical products, and if there is enough research done. Let's see how our viewership kind of has responded to this. Let's see the answer now.
Wow!
Yes, 90%. 90% of our viewers say that cannabis should be legalized not just for export but for recreational use too. I'm obviously, I thought it might be about 75, 80, but
fly high, as they say. But doctor, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. You've actually opened our eyes and give us more information about cannabis.
Absolutely.
What can be done, what can't be done.
What shouldn't be done.
What shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
And of course, in Sri Lanka, we're basically, talking about the export of cannabis in the parliament. But clearly, we also don't seem to actually have got the head and the tail sorted out.
Clearly. And I loved the fact, I loved how you responded, doctor. Straight into the gonads. No holds barred. Couple of sarongs went high in there. Well done, That's the way to say, when you know you're talking about the truth, that's the way to say it.
Doctor, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully you enjoyed the conversation with us.
Very good, yes. And I want to finally say something.
Yes, please.
Cannabis should be legalized for medicine, industrial, well-being, and recreational uses. There are four aspects.
Yeah.
Right? For that four aspects, there are four different varieties. So we can do this as four crops. Right? And that is that is what I want to say. And number two, I would say this. Everything I said was not my opinions. Those are facts.
Yeah, right.
Because I generally don't say my opinions.
Yeah,
I have a lot of facts to say for many hours.
Absolutely. Doctor, just before we say goodbye, I am actually looking forward to, meeting with you one day and spending a few recreational hours talking about this wonderful topic.
We will arrange it in Thailand.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's
yes.
wait until the dollar stabilizes a bit because then in the mara ganang.
Thank you, Doctor. Have yourself a good night, and
Okay.
thanks so much for speaking to
Right.
us.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay,
Wow,
good night.
wow. What a conversation that was. Thank you so much, Dr. Wasantha, coming to us live all the way from Thailand.
Absolutely, and clearly, look, I mean, it's just, it's wonderful to have this chat, but I'm so saddened that the benefit of an expert like this is being reaped by Thailand.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a Sri Lankan man,
Yeah.
gone to a Sri Lankan university,
Yeah.
and who gets the benefit? Thailand.
And we obviously tried in many different ways, trying to see if he can come down to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
No, Anu said that he wants to spend some time with him, and he's just invited him to Thailand. So clearly he doesn't want to come down.
Because clearly people are taking him seriously in
Yes.
Thailand, and they're actually literally reaping the benefits.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's it as far as the show is concerned for this week.
That's right.
We shall be back with you once again next week, and a couple of special things are happening on the show starting next week.
Yeah.
So till we speak to you, it's our Friday, and happy weekend.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Good night.
Powered by
Discover your Daraj.
Presenting Love Uber Eats, a platform to donate essential items to those in need.